Alright, assumptions. Really bad.
I've tried so hard to not make as many assumptions. And as you can tell, when I get excited, I don't do as well at that. Because I was making so many assumptions within the context of Lizzie's story without even hearing the whole thing.
You were so excited you just wanted to finish the story for me.
Yeah, and I do that a lot. And so it makes me angry that other people don't try harder to do that, even though it's not on their radar. And if you are done, I will happily go next.
I am done. That's pretty much everything that's been happening to me. The only finale of the story is like the presentation was on a Friday, and I got sick Saturday after we sent that email and he berated us. So I'm pretty sure it was stress related.
Fine. Okay. Expectations.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm gonna be 30 next month.
No, don't say it.
Aren't you younger than me?
Yeah. It's just reminding me that I'm gonna be 29. Yay! How did I not get hit?
29's not that bad. 30
No,
is...
it's not too bad. It's just...
Although, actually, technically, 28 was really bad for me. 29 was kind of bad. Hopefully 30 will be better. But, okay. So there's this societal standard called full-time work. I'm gonna let Lizzie do this. Okay. Okay. You got this. Please beat this level.
No! I need Yoshi, and I forgot about that.
I can't even get that far, dude. I can't even get to Yoshi. I feel like such dead weight right now. So, once upon a time, let's start here. Once upon a time, there was this girl named Nicole. And she was in middle school, and she really wanted to go to college. Because middle school kids made no freaking sense. And if she had had the F word in her vocabulary, she would have said that they make no fucking sense. She wanted to go to college because she thought that college would be the place where she would finally feel accepted. So, all of her life, through middle school and her depression and high school, all she ever wanted to do was go to college, right? Because all she wanted to do was go to college and get a good job and have the essential expectation of the American dream, right? The idea that you get up and you go to work and you can be able to support yourself off of full-time work, right?
Yep. All-American dream.
And then, somewhere in there...
Oh, God.
Somewhere in there I lost myself. And I was able to do so much in college. I was able to take on a full-time school schedule, keep a 3.4 GPA, and do all this other music stuff that basically was the equivalent of a part-time job, right? Between, like, all the music lessons and, like, all the music stuff that I had to do extra outside of classes, right? And it was fun. It made me happy.
I don't want to... There we go.
And then an internship happened that didn't go well. And then I got, like, depressed off that for 18 months, right? And then I went back to broadcast school. I had an internship. They couldn't hire me. I arguably got depressed about that for about 3 or so months. And then I got my job at McDonald's. Got a broadcast job. That didn't work out. Arguably got depressed more and more. Okay, fine, hospital, whatever. Right?
Mm-hmm.
But at some point during this, right, there's this deterioration of how much I can handle.
Mm.
Right? I can handle so much in college. And then the internship happens, and then I can handle what I can handle in broadcast school, which is quite as much as college, but it's still more. But I still feel guilty because the entire time there are people who are doing as much as I'm doing and more. So the entire time I feel incredibly incompetent, right? I thought doing full-time college work and then doing all my music stuff on the side was enough for me, right? But no, there were people who were doing all the stuff I was doing and had either a job, had several different social activities they were doing. Like, and this should have set something off, that something wasn't quite right about this, right? And like, so here I am, almost 30, right? And I'm in this dilemma, right? Where, so I do all this stuff in college, right? I have the bad internship, I collapse. I do this stuff in broadcast school. And then I have like crazy work hours. I go get this broadcast job in 2012 and I collapse. I come back to McDonald's and I can only do 24 hours a week. Maximum. Where before I was doing, at McDonald's I was doing like maybe 30 to 35 hours. I was doing way more stuff and workload than that when I was in college, right?
I am listening, I'm just giving my voice a rest.
Okay. And then all of a sudden there's this thing, this label to this thing, right? And I quit McDonald's because, right, I mean, I just wasn't thinking very good things while I was there, right? And I go to this new job, and all of a sudden I'm like, okay, I'm going to try to go do 5 days in a row of work and see how it works, right? Because if I can't do 5 days in a row, and as one of my friends said to me, if you can do 5 days in a row of food service consistently, you can do anything, right? Food service is really hard, and people are like, oh, you know, we can get into the whole minimum wage debate about how, you know, people don't deserve to whatever, make that kind of money. But if you had to deal with you, if you had to deal with people like you, okay, so imagine you on a bad day, right? And then, like, dealing with, like, 3 of those per day, 5 days a week. Like, minimum. Like, this is what we have to put up with, right? And so, or at least at McDonald's. It's not as bad at Jimmy John's right now. But, and so I'm, like, feeling this pressure of, like, needing to do more. And trying to figure out why I can't do as much as I used to be able to.
I think I described it to you like a phone battery, where you charge it up and it never quite reaches the same amount of charge and just keeps going less and less.
Yes.
And less.
And less. And less. And so all of a sudden I'm like, okay, cool. So the store closes, the store opens back up. I'm like, cool, right? We're going to go 5 days a week. See how this works. And then I get like these like influences that are like, you know, again, it's like I'm not capable enough. You know, so there's this guy at work, right, who was working, you know, a good chunk of night shifts, but he was also doing like, you know, 25 to 30 hours at a second job. And so I decided to ask him, like, you know, like, have you like built up a stamina to be able to go from doing 1 job to a full-time job to doing 2 jobs? Because between the 2 jobs, it was easily over 40 hours a week, right? And so he goes into this, like, thing about, like, how, you know, like, before, like, he couldn't do it, but, like, now it's just, like, mentally pushing through, and, you know, and it's a matter of, you know, it's time for me to grow up and quit, like, not... Needless to say, this conversation upsets me so much that I have a breakdown the next day and I can't work.
No.
And you know how, like, when you're upset and things that normally wouldn't bother you when you were feeling better, like,
Yep.
are so much worse. So I walk in and because I'm on the closing crew, I walk in and there's some comment about how it looks like the store hasn't been mopped, and I literally just go, are you fucking kidding me? We mopped like every 30 minutes from now to close, and what do you want us to do? Mop every 15 minutes? Are you fucking kidding me? And it's like, Nicole, are you okay? And
No.
I'm like, no, because, right? So I'm in this mood, and I'm literally yelling this as I'm walking through the store, right? There's no customers there. I'm like, I'm just supposed to suck it up, right? That's the idea. I'm just supposed to mentally tough through this shit. I'm about to be 30, and I'm nowhere in my life. Like, and basically I ended up breaking down, and like, I was sick before that and going to work when I probably shouldn't have been going to work sick, and I was not really eating when I probably should have been eating. So the combination of being sick and deciding to not eat at the same time probably wasn't the best.
Yeah, I kind of didn't eat at all when I was sick.
Yeah. And so I was just there, and I was just like sitting in the booth, and I was crying. And I looked up at my managers. I said, I don't think I'm going to be able to be functional today. Because what happened is, oh, by the way, what happened after this conversation, because normally I get off somewhere between 9:30 and 10, depending on how long it takes us to close and how many people we have there. Because, like, our store closes. For those, for me working a 24/7, 365 job, the concept of closing was a little weird at first to me. Like, the fact that stores close and we have holidays off. Like, we had Easter off. Like, really? Wow. That's crazy.
Why? Why?
And so basically I ended up breaking down like on my deliveries that night. So on the Monday night after I have this conversation, I get in the car and I literally start crying because I'm like, oh my God, like there's no way I'm ever going to be able to meet this standard of like working 40 hours a week. And I get ahead of myself a lot, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm never going to be able to make this 40-hour-a-week standard if I can't even work 20 hours at this job, and I used to be able to do so much, and why can't I do that much anymore? Am I letting my diagnosis affect the fact that I can't do that much anymore? Or did I literally just let Peru destroy me? But did I let McDonald's destroy me, or did it destroy me inherently, or could I have...
Etc., etc.
Yeah, so... And that's only part of it, is the funny thing.
Yeah, the thing about these kind of thoughts is they just go a mile a minute, and
right.
They're not really all coherent. Like,
right.
They're all over the place. It's just...
If you listen to that and you're like, that didn't make much sense to me, even after I listened to it a second time, it's okay, because it doesn't make any sense to me either. So don't feel bad. So... basically, I cry, and I'm, like, trying to pull myself together between these deliveries, right? And I'm just not doing a very good job of it, but then I'm, like, berating myself and being like, well, mentally, I should be able to push through this because I'm older, and, like...
Oh, yeah. Like, that never really helps when you're like, I should be able to do this, and I'm such a failure for not being able to do it. That doesn't help at all, but it's what we do when we fail.
Right.
Like, when I wasn't able to... program an Android because it was all really confusing. I'm like, I have a goddamn master's with a 4.0. Why can't I code this? And I was like, just getting angry at myself, and that didn't help.
Right.
And so I considered.
I ended up completely breaking down in front of one of the customers on my delivery on Monday night.
I think you mentioned he was cute too.
Yeah.
That's great.
A couple days later, he actually ordered. I got to see him in the lights. Still pretty above average in the attractive level, right? But, like, that was weird because I haven't talked to him since, right? Which is weird because I don't know if this whole thing of, like, I don't know if I'm supposed to message people or they're supposed to message me, but no one ever messages me, but I'm supposed to message them. And it's like, why didn't you talk to me? It's like, what? I'm the fucking Aspie here. Help me a little bit, right? And like, I'm the one who doesn't understand the social conventions. You gotta meet me 3/4 of the way here. I can only meet myself halfway on it. Like, and which makes me feel selfish, of course. And so I completely end up breaking him down in front of this guy, and like I can't. Like, I wake up on, this Tuesday morning, and I'm like, okay, I'm feeling all right. I'm feeling decent. I think I can go to work. And then as soon as I walk into work, it's like the floors haven't been mopped, and I go off on, like, some ridiculous thing, right? And I basically go from, like, super angry to super crying, and then, like, it's like the manager is like, look, Nicole, if you need to leave and take care of yourself, it's okay. We have another driver here for you, which is actually something I've been, like, bitching for them to get for me for, like, months. And because of the remodel, it's just a good time for it. Oh, but the other driver, the one person who randomly hugged me that one time or whatever.
Oh, fun.
Awkwardly. Apparently, they found out she was drinking on the job, so they kind of let her go.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's not good.
Yeah, if you're drinking on the job, it's a bad idea. If you're a driver...
That's really dumb. Don't do that.
Yeah, and people they didn't even understand why she didn't, like, get rid of her alcohol, like, not in the trash in the store.
Oh.
When
That's...
That's not smart, dude. This is a minor tangent, but this is my whole argument against cutting, is that this is why I take the starve yourself, keep yourself tired route, is because that's a less obvious way for people to know that you're being to yourself.
No evidence.
No evidence. Like, if you just eat a little less, or you stay up a little later, even though you're tired, like,
yeah, I do
the
that.
safe fact. It's just not as obvious to other people, right? So, okay, should I do it still? No, of course not.
No, but, like...
It's bad, but, like, that's my reasoning behind it.
I do that, too, where, like, it's really late, and I'll want to go to bed, but I'm like, no, I don't deserve to sleep now. I should stay up another hour.
Yeah.
There's also, like, if I go to sleep now, then tomorrow will start, and then there's all the responsibilities tomorrow that'll start. But if I stay up, I don't have any responsibilities right now.
Right, exactly. That's another good point. But, okay, so basically the manager's like, look, we have another driver. I talked to the other driver. It's okay if you leave and take care of yourself. Right? It's okay if you do that. And I said, but because that other driver was the guy I had the conversation with, right? Mm-hmm. And I was like, but he's going to judge me and think I'm weak and I'm wimping out.
Mm-hmm.
And the manager said, no judgment, Nicole. If you need to leave and take care of yourself. Mm-hmm. If you need to do meditation or yoga or whatever you do to get yourself recentered, do it. Mm-hmm. And I was like, and I started at 4 and I left at 4:30 because I couldn't pull myself together. And I felt horrible. But I went and I got myself a really good meal, which is probably the first good meal I had in like 2 to 3 weeks at that point. And I went to the library and I read. And I positioned myself to where I wasn't looking at magazines, I wasn't looking at other books. I got the seat in the library that just stared at an empty wall. Then I learned to respect my sensory integration issues. That's the day where I was like, okay, so clearly, like, okay, if I need to go around in the car and need to not listen to the music the whole time because I know once I get back into the store, the music's going to overwhelm me. Mm-hmm. Okay, let's start respecting the fact that you're getting so overwhelmed and feel like that these conversations are affecting you. Because if I have a history of this, right?
Yeah.
It's essentially when I lost my internship back in 2009, my radio internship, right? The TLDR of that is they told me to lie, I didn't lie, and then I found out I didn't have an internship on the radio.
Yep.
Like, that's basically the TLDR of that. Right? Peru, one conversation, one comment, I have a breakdown, I have a meltdown, I resign. Right?
Yep.
And this is the day before I went into inpatient. I had an are we or aren't we conversation with my guy friend. Go to work the next day, they're like, hey, let's do something different.
No.
And within the next 6 to 9 hours, I'm sitting in a bed in a psych ward. Like, so clearly I have a history of letting conversations get to me. It's not, you know, so on this level, but like, besides this, I'm still struggling with this idea of, because then I tell other people about how I'm getting stressed out, and their reaction is, well, can't you just get a job that's like not as stressful?
Yeah, yeah, it's so easy.
Yeah. Well, it's so easy to get, because, well, it's sarcastically easy on several levels, right? First off, because I have emotional issues. Okay, well, actually, probably the biggest point is I don't have experience in anything else now at this point. I've been doing food service for over 3 years, and anything I went to college for, I haven't done in a very, very long time. So my primary resume elements are all food service at this point, right? So that's problem number one. Problem number two is trying to get me through an interview without being awkward. And like convincing me, look, Nicole, you kind of need to play the interview game. You can't be honest.
Yeah.
Oh, but you can be honest. No, you can't be honest. Don't give me that shit. I'm too smart for that. Like
the you know, twisting the truth honesty doesn't really, that's not honesty if you go by the literal sense.
Right. And because I'm so hardcore, like, even if I, like, kind of tell a minor fib and I feel bad about it, like, trying to, basically I have to try to convince someone that, look, once I learn whatever system you're running, I am going to be one of the best employees you have at this company, in this position, right? The only issue is, I'm just a little awkward trying to get there. I don't learn things as quickly as I used to. You know, it takes me a little longer. My hearing's not as good, so I have to keep asking you what you're saying. Like, my eyes aren't as good, so I can't see. Like, I have, like, my senses are, like, decaying on me a little bit, right? So I basically have to convince them in, like, a societal acceptable way that I'm going to be really, really good at that job.
Yep.
I can't find a way to make myself... Because the last time I had an interview, it was like I couldn't get over the fact that, like, I kept saying to the guy who was interviewing me, I'm sorry, I'm really sorry, I'm trying to do, like, proper interview skills, but it's really hard for me. So, of course, they think I'm a fucking whack job, right? Like, why wouldn't they? I don't blame them. Like, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like, at the end where it's like, hey, do you have any questions? You know? Literally, the first question I ask is, okay, how much of your stuff is fixed pricing and how much of it is per weight? That's literally the first question I ask coming out of the gate of, do you have any other questions? Like, because to me, like, my thought is, let's get in on the details, right? Like,
Yeah.
let's get the details. Let's, you know, let's figure this out, right? Okay, how much is fixed pricing? How much is, you know, like, pricing by pound? How is that? Because I'm thinking in my mind, how is that going to affect the dynamic of what prices I need to memorize? Essentially, that's where I was thinking. And then it's like, what different stations am I going to be working at? Which I think is and it was funny because, like, she had this, like, smile on her face. And then as soon as I started asking these, like, harder hitting questions, so to speak, like, you could see it kind of go away. And
It's
then
not
be
usually the kind of questions they mean
right.
to ask.
But, like, that's what I felt
Was important, yeah.
right. Like, here's the question. I asked about the benefits, which is a little sketchy. The question I didn't ask, which I actually should have asked, was, oh my god. Question I should have asked, which I didn't ask.
That was a glitch.
What do you mean by part-time? Is the question I actually didn't ask that I should have. Because some people part-time is 20 to 25 hours. Some people part-time is 30 hours. Sometimes it's 2 shifts, which is 15 hours. Like, That's the real question I should have asked, but I didn't even think about it until I left. So, but my thought was, okay, let's figure out the details of the job. That was where my brain went. As like the appropriate questions to ask after I'd been saying for the entire interview that I wasn't good at interviewing.
All right, we're at 25 minutes. You want to do one more video?
Yeah.
All right, we'll be right back.